Hi, Bob Thrash here, President of Process Management Consulting, an approved training provider with over 10 years experience training BRCGS auditors. We're starting a new series on quality culture entitled Protect the Brand. And in this series, we will talk about the revised Global Food Safety Initiative Culture Model. We will review BRCGS standards that affect culture, and we will discuss real-world company culture successes and failures. I want to start by mentioning to you that back in March, GFSI released a revised position paper regarding food safety culture. GFSI commissioned an expert in the field to conduct an independent review of academic and professional literature. In this paper, GFSI clarifies its role as a benchmarking organization to ensure that key reference points and dimensions for core concepts are addressed. As a benchmarking organization, GFSI defines the what. It is still up to standards owners such as BRCGS and food businesses as to the how. This GFSI model has 2 levels with 5 dimensions. The first level is organizational culture foundation, and the very first dimension is vision and values. With the BRCGS food safety standard, the first clause requires that the organization define their commitment to quality. There are 5 obligations to be addressed within that commitment, and in addition, the last bullet point of that clause requires a commitment to continuously improve food safety and quality culture. Although not specifically required by an auditor, I will ask the organization whether it has defined its values. Typically they have, and I will ask questions around those values and how they're being applied. It gives me a little understanding about whether the organization is really committed to building a quality and food safety focused culture. The second clause requires a culture action plan that we will talk about in more detail in a later talk. And then the third clause requires quality objectives to be defined and measured. Again, we will review this clause in later talks. I want to mention also that issue 10 of the global standard will be coming out in 2027. We don't have a date yet. And I'm anticipating an even more intense focus on developing the quality and food safety culture. I want to tell you about a real story about a small custom processor I worked for a few years ago. They're out of business now. There were 2 owners, and they didn't want to follow basic rules. That included basic worker safety requirements and food safety rules and regulations. Now, they would do what USDA would tell them to do, but otherwise, they wouldn't do the things I was taught good organizations needed to do. For example, I told them about a mice problem. They wouldn't do anything until finally USDA shut them down. Then they hired a pest control service, but obviously they were shut down for a few days until an agreement was signed and service could be scheduled. Before the processor had even gotten started, the first team training was done on food safety and USDA hold tags. Do not touch them. Do not remove them for any reason. I drilled that point over and over and over again. A few months later, they had 7 goats one afternoon tagged for some potential disease issue. Samples were taken by USDA and sent out. The buyer came the next morning before USDA arrived at the plant. The owners had loaded the product into an unrefrigerated van, and the buyer passed the USDA inspector as they drove up. USDA hold tags were still attached to the goats leaving the property. I was beyond upset with what the owners did, and they ignored me. The test results had come back negative, so the USDA inspector was just going to remove the tags. He didn't seem to be upset at the time. After about another month, issues continued to mount, and the USDA area supervisor decided to have a meeting with the owners. There were 10 key issues to review. USDA tried to emphasize that they wanted owners to fix the problems before USDA had to step in. The owners continued to say that they would do anything that USDA asked them to do. Clearly not the answer USDA was looking for. I prepared a corrective action document regarding the 10 issues. The plant manager, one of the owner's wives, said they were not doing the action items, that USDA knew what their problems were and they would do whatever USDA told them to do. I turned in my notice to discontinue services that day. I didn't understand why the owners wouldn't own the issues. There was no good reason for all the poor choices the owners were making. They were hardworking and experienced small business owners, and why they refused to take action before USDA shut them down still confuses me. I wake up every morning asking myself, what choices could I or someone on my team make today that could harm our brand and potentially shut us down? Whether intentional or unintentional, it doesn't matter. One lapse in judgment can be the downfall of any organization. An intentional choice to violate food safety principles puts the organization at risk. Look what's happening to a produce supplier right now. Someone failed to follow established processes to establish groundwater was safe. Was it intentional? I don't know. But people are getting sick and people are aware of the potential supplier. Now, before we go, I want to let you know that BRCGS has a new course out for food safety, culture, action, planning. It's available now and can be conducted either on-site or virtual. A date has not been set for an open enrollment class yet. So stay tuned for more information or talk to me at bob.thrash@foodsafeworld.com for scheduling or enrolling. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I hope this adds value for you and your company. Come back for more tips on food safety culture and protecting your brand.